We go. Got to check out my living room for a sec.
Hi.
Hi. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good.
Good. Thanks for willing to do this.
Yeah, sure.
So I could just jump around then with your career so far.
Yeah. Whatever you want to ask me, go for it.
So I know that you have a science background, and but before like you did voiceover stuff, what was the short film you were in when you were a kid, like The Rose?
Oh yeah. Um, the Rose. It was like I had taken like one on-camera class as a small child, and the director of that class happened to be making a short film at that time about a little girl going through trauma, and so it was supposed to be like that sort of experience, like in the short film, you never really find out what her trauma is, but it was kind of about like the 5 stages of grief and like going through healing and stuff like that, which was really intense for like my first project ever. I don't even know how old I was, but I was pretty young when I did it, and it was like definitely like my first experience behind the camera. I
Mhm.
mean, in front of the camera. Wow. Coffee. Need coffee. It's still. I know it's noon, but my brain is still winding up for the day.
Well, and just later on too, the other short films that you've been part of, it seems like do you have more of a preference for doing darker stuff?
I do. I've always loved darker stuff. And my favorite genre is actually dark comedies.
Hmm.
Um, so shows like or like dramedies too. So like shows like Shameless, I really love. Barry, I really love. And stuff like that. Because I just think like the perfect content that I like to see, it's like I want to be moved to tears from sadness and also moved to tears from laughing so hard. So that's like I think that's like where the sweet spot is.
Hmm. Do you have a personal favorite of the shorts that you worked on so far?
Um, I don't know if I have like a super favorite, but I will say one of the most fun shorts that I did was one called "What Do You Mean You're Pregnant," which I did. It was a student web series actually, but I met like really awesome people on that set, and all of them have gone off since then to do like amazing things in the film industry. And I just remember having so much fun. It was like very low stakes. It was funny content, and the students at the time were like really passionate about it. And I was like, yes, like anytime you get to work with people who like really love what they do, like they're not just there just because they have to be. It's always an amazing experience.
Mhm. And do you have more of a affinity with pursuing voiceover now, or do you still like both?
I'm still doing both. So I've done some TV, mostly short films. But I was in The Dropout on Hulu. My scenes got cut, but I was in it, I promise. And I'm actually in an episode of Barry, which I think premieres this coming Sunday, but I'm not the first episode, so I don't really know when my episode's coming out. And I'm shooting again next week for another show. So it's pretty, like, I love doing both, but I would definitely say there's just like more volume in voiceover. So most of my work comes through voiceover, and then on camera, it'll be a little bit more sporadic.
Mhm. Well, speaking of Barry, did you get much interaction with Bill Hader then?
Yeah, my scene was with him and Henry Winkler,
Oh
which
wow.
was awesome. They're such cool people, and it was hard going into it because I was already such a big fan of the show. But everyone on that set, again, it was like one of those sets where like everybody was so nice and so incredible to work with, and I felt like immediately like I was part of their family, even though I was only on set for a short amount of time.
Mhm. Has there been a case where you've gotten really starstruck in terms of who you were working alongside of for anything?
Um, Probably not like super starstruck. I mean, I guess like the most would have been like Bill Hader and Henry Winkler, but I wasn't like I couldn't speak. Like I was there, like I was like, I'm a professional, like I'm here on set, I'm here to work. So it was okay. But I think like the only person that could probably like throw me in terms of being starstruck is like if Beyonce walked into the room, I think I would be speechless.
Yeah.
But I think she's like her, I would have that reaction. I love Kristen Bell. I think she's so funny. I love her. Michelle Yeoh, Queen, Jackie Chan. love him, and like Viola Davis. I think those are there's my list. That's my list of like I would maybe pass out if I got to meet them.
So going back to the timeline, what was your first character part in anything voiceover?
So this is a little bit of a funny story. Um, I was on LA Casting, which a lot of actors are familiar with LA Casting because a lot of breakdowns go through there. And I auditioned for this job. I'd never done voiceover before. I had actually just started taking voiceover classes because someone I met on set, their mom was a coach. So I had just started taking voiceover classes, and I happened to get this audition. And I showed up, and it was like on a live. It almost looked like a stand-up stage. It was like a live stage, which is not usual for voiceover. This is pre-pandemic, so normally you'd go into a booth, right, and you'd record with a sound engineer. But this was like a live stage. They handed me a mic, and they were like, "Okay, turn around. Like we want to hear you do it, but we don't want to see your face because it's voiceover." And I was like, okay, so I turned around and I did the thing, and I like I looked down and I realized I have a cat, and I realized that my pants, like on the back of my pants, was like covered in cat hair. And I was like, I started talking to myself because I do that a lot. Maybe it's like a voice artist thing. I feel like we talk to ourselves a lot. I started talking to myself, and I was just commenting like, oh, like I was like, I don't even remember what I said, but I was talking about like the cat hair being on my butt, and I was like, crap, and I was like trying to like wipe it off. But I was like muttering basically, but the mic was on, and the producer and like the main producer was there, and another producer, and like some other person, and they all just started like, they busted out laughing. They were like, oh my gosh, like she wants us to look at her butt, like she's so funny. And I was like, what? Haha, yeah, I'm so funny. I like wasn't even trying to be funny, but I guess they thought I was hilarious. Ended up booking the job. It was like a promo spot for a TV show that they had already produced, and that kind of like slingshot me to getting my first agent. And then the rest is kind of history.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's the story of how you got into SAG then?
So I produced a short film a long time ago through SAG New Media, and I solely made this film because I was looking to get my eligibility because I didn't like the voucher system. I was like, oh, it's kind of like there's a lot of like random up to chance to get vouchers. So I was like, I don't want to do that. I want to do something a little more concrete. So I produced a short film, went through SAG, cast SAG actors, and then I cast myself in it, and that's how I got my eligibility. And then after that, I got cast in another SAG web series. So then I became Must Join, and then a couple years after that, oops, sorry, a couple years after that, I booked a Barkthens voiceover commercial, and my agent was like, are you SAG? And I was like, no. And she was like, all right, if you want to do this project, like you need to join like today. And so I did. I just like went down. I had already been saving money so that I could drop it when I had to. So I just drove down to SAG that day. I was like, here's my money. Like they're like, okay. And then I was just in SAG since then. That was in like 2016, I believe, is when I joined.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
It is interesting because talking to a lot of the modern gen VO people in LA, they all have, some of them say that they'd just wait till the last second to do it. So it's interesting that everyone's story is different.
Yeah, I mean that's what I did because it's a large amount of money. It's like
Yeah.
almost 3,200 to join, and then there is that whole like union versus non-union work, and once you're in the union, you can't do non-union work unless you're FICOR, and it's like this whole thing. So it's definitely like a big decision for a lot of people, especially if you work in markets where most stuff is non-union, like Texas, for example. It's a lot harder. So everyone has their own reasons for when they join, but yeah, general consensus usually is like waiting to the last second. Yeah.
What about your first anime or dubbing experience?
Um, I can't remember what my first dub job was, but I definitely had taken some classes, like because I wanted to be prepared. I took some ADR and looping classes, and I really loved it, but it wasn't something that I was like super pursuing at the time because I didn't know about it, and also like dubbing in anime, especially like not recently, was known as like like some of the lower paying voiceover jobs. So I kind of wanted to focus on like commercial and animation and even some video game stuff. But once I like I booked a job. I don't remember how, and I don't remember which one it was because I've just done so many since then. And I was like, wow, I actually like really love this. Like it's really fun. Kind of like absorbing the emotions and the actions of a character on screen and then like bringing it to life in a second way. Um, and then I just since then I don't know how, but I do a ton of dubbing now, and especially because foreign content is so huge. So again, like just the volume of that area of the industry, like I think it's one of the easiest to break into because there's such a push now for foreign films, especially being dubbed into English. In terms of anime, I do know my first anime because I only booked my first anime last year, and it was Talentless Nana. And before then, I had never really received a ton of anime auditions. I didn't know how to get them, but just kind of from like networking and just like meeting more people, like someone introduced me to someone who did casting, and then I auditioned, and then I got on that show, and I actually really like it. I watched it, and I was like, oh, this is like really good. And since then, I've been doing like pretty consistent anime work, but I'm definitely new to anime. Like last year was my first time, and now I feel like at any given point, I'm usually working on at least one anime.
Hmm. Yeah, with Talentless Nana, that's a pretty dark character that you play, obviously.
Yeah, I play a lot of Mean Girls. I challenge all of challenge. I channel all of like my like bullying experiences from like middle school and high school, and I'm just like those girls, and I do really well playing Mean Girls.
Well, what do you think is with voiceover so far? What do you think is the case where you've had to get the darkest emotionally involved headspace for?
That's a great question. In the darkest headspace, I guess like okay, so I'm working on a video game right now. I can't say what it is because it's still under NDA, but it's extremely violent. And my director is incredible. He puts me in headspaces that like help kind of like get me there, and he'll give me like scenarios and stuff, and we kind of just like really play in the room during our sessions. And like I've definitely like done takes where like afterwards I'm sobbing for a few minutes and I have to like calm down again, because as actors, like you have to invest so much emotionally, right? Like our whole job is to put yourselves as these characters, live and see and breathe what they breathe, all of it. And so you feel everything that they feel, when you're really connected. So definitely this game that I'm working on right now, I can't wait for it to come out. It's not going to be out for a while because we just started working on it this year, but I'll be excited to talk about it once it comes out.
Well, and with anime as well, playing Tarte and Finest Assassin, do you think you have the most affinity with her then in terms of like bigger characters you've played so far?
Yeah, like she was definitely like a really awesome like character, because she was definitely one of the bigger recurring characters that I've done. I did another anime. There's two other animes that I'm in that have not come out yet. Um but I think I don't know. Tarte is so she's so cute, and she's kind of a little badass because she kind of learns to like fight and stuff. And I have another character coming out who's more of like a commander warrior, like more of a badass, which was really fun because it's just like a different side of that, like more seasoned, than Tarte. And then I have another one coming out that's more in the kids genre, but that one I was in every single episode, and when it ended, I cried because it was my first series that I did that I was like I was one of the lead characters on, and it was such a special experience. I don't know when it's coming out, but we wrapped it last year, so hopefully soon.
Okay. Who do you think that you personally relate the most to then with characters you played so far?
I got see, it's so hard. I'm like NDA, NDA. There is one character that I'm doing right now on a show, and this character, when I saw her on breakdowns, immediately I felt a connection because I felt like she and I had basically the same personality. And I was like, oh, like this feels like I'm just me, which is awesome. And actually after I booked it, the the show went back and they even tweaked the character a little bit more to be even more like me.
Oh,
And I thought that was like really, really cool that they really kind of customized their characters to the actors that they ended up booking. And I think they're probably, I don't know when, but for sure, I think in the next couple of months, the show will be announced. Um, and then I can talk about it more. But sorry, I have to be so vague.
that's fine.
It's actor life.
Did you find it easy to connect to Tine then?
Yeah, there's something Tina, she has this really traumatic past. I didn't know anything about her or like her storyline before I auditioned for her. And so there was like a little bit in the breakdown when I auditioned, and then she just seemed, she's very wholesome. She's kind of got this like quiet thing about her, but also she's kind of like, she'll do what she must. Like if she has to fight, if she has to defend, she has to do it. And it comes from like her being young and being taken advantage of, and her whole backstory about being like cast out from society for a while and stuff. So I was like, okay, like I'm gonna channel all of that. And then in the session, the producers like told me a little bit more about her, and that really helped. The more backstory we get, like the more like inventive and creative we can be with like how we perform the character.
Mhm.
So yeah, I really loved doing her stuff.
Was Fire Emblem also a pretty general audition, or was there a special story with it?
It was a pretty general audition. I get a lot of auditions every day. So I kind of have like a rhythm when I do them, but definitely like for auditions like animation and video games where everything's very like character based. I do, I read the script a couple times, and then I like do a pass, and then I go back, I read the breakdown again, and just think about like, oh, like am I delivering these lines true to like who this person is? And then I try it again, and then it just gets sent off into the ether, and maybe I book it, maybe I don't. That's okay.
Having talked to Caitlin Galt as well, what was it like for you being directed by her?
She's so amazing. She's so talented, and she's one of those directors that you're just so comfortable when you work. Like there's no wrong answer, it's just let's play. Like, okay, like let's do a take. That was great. Like try it like this now. Try it like this now. And it's never like whenever a director says try it like this, it's not because you did anything wrong. It's just because they're trying to get some variation. They just want to hear what this sounds like, what that sounds like. And she gave such great little tweaks. And there were a couple other people on the call like giving their input, and it's such a collaborative experience. And I really felt like I had a say in, what I was doing. And I also felt like it was really easy to like take her direction in the way that she explained things. And overall, it was just really fun.
Mhm. I don't know if it's the case with every cast member, but some other people I've talked to that are part of the Fire Emblem Heroes, they said that there's always funny lines that they have that they don't end up using, that they just use to like throw people off during recording.
Oh, maybe. I don't remember. But that's pretty common. Because it's always better to over record than under record, right? So it's better to like record too much stuff, and then they can kind of pick and choose what they like, rather than them being like, oh, we like don't have enough, and then they have to like bring the actor back in for another session, and that's gonna cost more money. So that's definitely very common.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you're even aware of it yet, but there's already a pretty large general consensus fan following that your performance is really well done for her.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I only see like when people tag me on Twitter, I'm always like, yay, like cool. But that's awesome to hear, because you never know, especially with characters that people are already familiar with. Like, I wasn't super familiar with all of the lore behind Fire Emblem, but like I did know that people already knew who she was. And so there's always a little bit of like, oh, like people have an expectation. So like as actors, like we're just there, like we'll do our best, and like it's received how it's received, and either way it's like always like, okay, I did my best. But that's awesome to hear that people are really like enjoying her and her gameplay.
And vocally speaking too, it seems like it's pretty similar to your natural voice.
Yeah, just a little higher, I think. And she doesn't have any vocal fry. I'm from California. I vocal fry sometimes. I know it's very annoying. Um, but yeah, she's definitely like bright, and I feel like definitely her like personality wise, she's a little more soft. I'm a little more in your face. So it's just like taking parts of yourself and adjusting it to the character when you're performing as that character.
Mhm. What do you think is the case where you've had to alter your voice the most significantly so far for anything?
Yeah, I did something that's not released yet, but I've done like little boy characters,
Okay.
which are always really fun and weird and different. And I just did a video game where I played a like an ice cream cone, and that was like a different kind of voice, and I don't know. I've done like my voice is it's like very high, so I lean into like more like I can do a lot of kids voices, kid characters, a lot of like fairy stuff, which, and then you have like the flip side, or I call it my big girl voice, where like it's I'm sitting right now, but I kind of talk deeper in my diaphragm and like make myself sound a little bit older, a little more serious. So it's like like those kinds of things. But yeah, I definitely like I feel like I really flourish in like the kids teen area just cuz that's where my voice is kind of naturally.
Mhm. I have also found talking to voice actresses that do multitudes of kid voices or boy voices that they all have kind of a particular process for it. Is there something that you do specifically, or?
I think it depends on the character. So, like, there's definitely like voices that I can just like pull out my back pocket, like, oh, like this is really easy for me. But like, especially when it comes to like weirdly drawn characters or like with boys, I'm like, um, I play with like mouth placement or like facial things. So like if I'm adding a lisp or if I want to like make it a little bit more raspy, and I gotta like bring it back into my throat or make it a little more dirty, and then I start doing all these weird things with my face, and then I just kind of explore until I kind of land on something, and I can look at the character art and be like, yeah, that can sound like this.
Mhm.
That's my process.
Well, with Genshin Impact, were you auditioning for a major character, or how did that come about?
No, I actually I kind of met the director through some like online forums, and I got to perform for him, and then he just cast me in Genshin. He was like, "We have roles," and I was like, "Okay, like I'll do it all." So yeah, no, I didn't really have to audition for it, but I did have to like perform, and he liked my work, so then I ended up in the game.
And some people I've talked to that have been part of Cookie Run, some had to audition and some were just cast too.
Mhm.
Which was your experience?
So I auditioned. I actually my original audition I think was meant for Onion Cookie.
Oh,
Because when I got everything was codenamed, first of all. I had no idea what it was. There was no character art. There was code names, and because I had no idea what it was. I didn't know it was gonna be so cute and anime-y, so I was getting a lot of their auditions. And I kind of like when they don't give you a lot of info, it's kind of hard to know the tone of the game. So I just kind of like every time I got an audition for it, I just did something different. I was like, I don't know, like if it's gonna be more cute or gonna be more grounded, or if it's gonna be, how violent is it actually, like, and Cookie Run is like not violent at all, like you just don't know when they don't give you much. So you just kind of like experiment and have fun. And I when I got cast, I was surprised because I was like, I don't remember auditioning for this character because it wasn't the same code name that Onion Cookie had. And then I went to the session. They were like, oh, like we have your audition, your reference file. In my head I was like, what are you talking about? I didn't audition for this. But then they played my audition for Onion Cookie, and I was like, oh, because Onion and Squid are really similar. Like they're both kind of like the sad cookies. I feel like they would be friends. They don't have a storyline yet, but they should, because it would just make a lot of sense. A little emo cookie storyline. And so yeah, and then so in that case, like it wasn't a direct audition, but it was one of those things where, you know there's only ever one person that can get cast for a role, like so many people audition, but like, just because you're not cast in something doesn't mean you're not good, or that, it's just like for whatever reason, totally out of your control, like that part went to someone else. So it's just a good reminder that, like, you just send in good auditions, like do good quality work, and even if you don't get that role, people will remember you for other things. And that's kind of like what happened for me in Cookie Run.
And are you comfortable listening to yourself in media that you're in?
Yeah, yeah. I think it's funny. I always like to like hear how things turned out. I'm definitely more weird like on camera wise. Like I don't like watching myself on camera. But for voiceover, it's fine.
Have you played any of the games that you have major parts in?
I'm still addicted to Cookie Run for like a whole year now, it feels like. Almost a year. I play Cookie Run all the time. I've played a little bit of Project Triangle Strategy, but it's like my friends. I haven't got the game yet. I will get it eventually. I've just been like too busy to play like a ton of video games recently. But I played a little bit of that. What other ones? I think those are the only two. I haven't played Fire Emblem yet. And it's hard with those games because they're like gotcha games, So it's like with Cookie Run, I downloaded Cookie Run before my character came out just so I could play it. And then, like by the time my character came out, I would have enough like gems or whatever to try and like roll the dice and like get my character from the gotcha.
I know this is going backward a little bit, but it was cool seeing you be part of Fantasy Star.
Yeah, yeah, that was really cool. I didn't know again, it was one of those things where I had no idea what it was when I auditioned for it. Everything is codenamed. Even after I left my session, I was like, "Can you guys tell me the name of this game?" And they were like, "No." And I was like, "Okay." And usually I never, because everything is so secretive, I'm never the first to find out when it comes out. It's usually like someone who's already invested in whatever series or game it is, and then I just get tagged and I'm like, oh, I guess it's out, cool.
Yeah.
But that one, yeah, that was a really my director for that game, again, amazing guy. He taught me so much. Just a great crowd of people. Awesome to work with.
I would think that Triangle Strategy is that and Fire Emblem are the most recent games that you can safely talk about.
Yes, yeah, I think so, yes.
And then that anime with Kotaro Lives Alone. That's a really sweet little show.
Oh, so sweet, so sweet, so wholesome. uh yeah, that that was cool. I didn't know it was gonna be on Netflix. I was like, oh, that's cool. I was just always assume it's gonna be Crunchyroll or, you know,
Hmm.
Funimation, but I guess just Crunchyroll now.
So is there anything else that's upcoming that you can safely talk about, or is it all mostly?
um, I can talk about this one. If I just uh checked on the app and it's out. So if you guys or if you anybody out there has Waze, I am one of the Waze voices that you can use right now for navigation. They're doing this music through the ages thing. So they have someone doing a 70s voice, someone doing an 80s voice, and someone doing a 90s voice, and I'm the 90s voice. So if you go into your settings and you go to like the drive experiences, you can listen to me direct you around town.
I know, of course, that your career is still blossoming, but my final question is always asking, what do you want your legacy to be?
Um, I I guess for me personally, like, um, I've always been like, just really into like stories. And I was always really drawn to fantasy. I grew up playing a lot of video games. I was an only child, and my mom worked a lot, so I had a lot of time on my hands when I was younger. I read a ton of books, played a lot of video games, and there was just something so like transportive about that experience, like being drawn into a new story and learning these characters and going on adventures. And um, I didn't always know that I was going to be in voiceover, but then when I did end up in voiceover and acting, I was like, oh my God, I'm just like continuing my love from when I was a child. It's just when I was a child, I didn't know that this could be an actual career, you know? And then I got into it and I was like, oh, I'm just like literally I'm doing the same thing that I did when I was 5, but now I'm just in the story and like performing the story for other people. And I just remember how much joy it brought me. I it's almost like escapist, and like be just being transported from story to story. So I guess for me, like now that I'm actually working in that industry, like I want to bring that same kind of joy that I felt listening to other people, watching other people, reading about other people, to other people, like that joy that I had. And then also just like, in on the working aspect of it, again, just that idea of like spreading joy, like loving the work that I do, loving the people that I work with, because I think it all just kind of comes together. And when you have so much like joy and love in everything you do, I feel like we're just happier individuals. And so I'm just hoping that that like joy and happiness can like spread, like little seeds that we plant.
And is there anything that you want to say to the Fire Emblem Heroes subreddit?
Just that I'm so honored to be a part of the storyline that you guys love, and to thank you so much for listening to my little interview. And I hope you enjoy playing Tine, and I hope to end up in more of the stories that you love.
Thanks. I'm glad that we got to do this.
Okay, yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.